It's time to say goodbye to 12 of the 20 teams who arrived in Japan 1 month ago, but there's plenty to decide before anyone packs their bags. Welcome to the JOEpan Rugby Show, brought to you by Sports Joe in association with Air Sport, the only place to watch every game of the World Cup live from Japan. I'm Rob O'Hanrahan, and as usual, Joe's head of rugby, Jerry Flannery, is with me to talk you through a massive weekend of World Cup action. We'll be previewing the 3 big games exclusively live on Air Sport this Sunday. With a decision to be made on Sunday morning over whether the game can actually go ahead, Japan are getting ready to take on Scotland as the hosts look to make the quarterfinals for the first time in their history. Irish eyes will be watching the outcome of that one, as top spot in the group rests on the outcome in Yokohama, one way or the other. Wales take on Uruguay as Warren Gatland's men hope to secure top spot in Pool D. That's after they saw off Fiji 29-17 in a tight contest to all but confirm that crucial first place. And USA play Tonga. Both of those sides have already been eliminated from the World Cup, but there's pride at stake and we'll be looking ahead to that one. Jerry, let's start with Japan v Scotland. It's a massive game in the group. It's a massive game for Ireland as well, but it's a massive game for Japan. Like, they go into this as a tournament hosts and with the chance of not only going through to the quarterfinals, but becoming top seeds as well.
Yeah, they have massive momentum now. I think that they're feeding off it. I think even the way that they finished the Samoa game was like, it was like if you're writing a script, a Hollywood script for a team, that's pretty much it. Whether it goes ahead now or not, I'm not sure. That's going to be the big issue. But I think it's Japan are writing the script so far, and it would be disappointing if we don't get to see them play Scotland.
Japan are writing the script, and if it is a Hollywood moment, then Jacko Piper was either the pantomime villain or the pantomime hero, depending on what side you were on. What he said exactly was, when he awarded Japan a scrum on 5 metres, 83 minutes into the game, he said that the Samoan scrum half had just thrown it in there. Come on, we've seen this time and time again in every major tournament. The ball is never fed to the hooker. Like, actually, I've pretty much seen it being fed straight to the 8 in this tournament. It's a very strange and very big decision, and a very crucial one in the group as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, I started watching the feeds a lot closer than after that. But to be fair to him, he'd actually just awarded them a free kick for Japan going early. So it's, I can see how people can say, like, oh, he's buying into the Japanese momentum, the host nation, but he actually gave the free kick to the Samoans, and Samoa called for another scrum when their scrum was under the pump. So look, it is a massive call, but he called it as he saw it. So
yeah, and it has had huge bearings like that. Obviously, Japan got the bonus point. It means that Scotland have to win under certain conditions at the weekend. It also means that if the game is called off, Japan will top the group ahead of Ireland. So it has huge ramifications throughout the tournament. Yeah,
it's definitely made it a lot spicier. I think, we just want to see. We want to see. I'm sure the Japanese players would want to play Scotland as well. Yeah. Because they just, people want to play. That's the reason you take up rugby, is you want to play. So, and I'd like to see how this. I think it would be a really, really good game. Yeah. Because both teams like to play with a lot of width, and I think it would be a really good matchup. And I think if Scotland can get George Horne, if Gregor Townsend looks back on his selection through the World Cup, I really think, like, obviously losing Hamish Watson to start with, losing Ali Price, but I think when you want to play a high tempo game, I've been really impressed with Nagari, the 9, and Tanaka when he's come on for Japan, because the 9 is setting the tempo all the time for the Japanese, and playing left and right either side, constantly changing the point of attack, playing left and right either side of the ruck, and then moving the ball to the edge when the opposition are down numbers, when they get a mismatch in terms of defenders versus attackers. And Laidlaw hasn't been doing that for me. Okay. And I think that's Scotland have struggled with that. They lost Ali Price, but I think George Horne is a guy that really, like, I've always been impressed with him when he's played for Glasgow. He brings huge energies. He's constantly looking for opportunities. I think Scotland looked a far better team with him in there at 9 against Russia.
Yeah, and like, he scored 4 tries. One of them was struck off for a forward pass. But I thought it was interesting that he had the potential to become the first Scottish player to score 5 tries, I think it is, in a test game, but he was taken off. He was taken off with at least 20 minutes still left on the clock, and I wonder, considering the tight turnaround, is that making sure he's ready to come off the bench, or do you think Gregor Townsend could spring him for that Japanese game?
I think, to me, it's not going to be management. I thought the Japanese against Samoa, I thought that they showed, it was Tamura's best game, in my opinion. He kicked really well in the game. So I don't think it's going to be down to management. I think it's going to be down to tempo and which team can keep tempo on the game as much as they can. It's going to be, ideally, if the game gets played, obviously with the Typhoon, it's in doubt, but it would be a great game. And I think that for Scotland, the Laidlaw is not working with Russell. To me, it's not working. And I can understand that Finn Russell is a maverick, and at times you want a little bit of management, and that maybe the foil to having Russell at 10 is to have Laidlaw at 9. But when things aren't working for Scotland and they need to up the tempo, it's, Price and Horn have been the ones to do that, and they don't have Price now, so I think they got to back Horn.
Yeah, I think Scotland will take a lot from that performance against Russia. Like, across the pitch, I thought they were enjoying their rugby. The tempo was a lot better. There was some great individual performances. We've mentioned George Horn, but as well as that, like the likes of Tommy Seymour, Darcy Graham. How important was that to kind of, I suppose, enjoy their rugby again before going into such a huge game against such a, I suppose, an opposition you're on such a high?
Yeah, it's important because the players that you named, like Darcy Graham, Tommy Seymour, for Scotland to play well, they need to be getting the ball to them and getting the ball to them with a bit of space, and that's when they play well. So that's the Scottish game clicking. That's the first time I've really seen it happen in this tournament, and I think that they'll feel like, right, if we can replicate that against Japan and back ourselves, Gregor Townsend and his players, I'd imagine, no doubt back themselves and their skill set to play, even if they're playing against Japan, who want to play an expansive wide game as well. They're going to say, listen, we think that we're going to do better. We'll score, if he score 3, we'll score 4, we'll score 5. So yeah, I think they'll be confident. Whether the game gets played now or not is the issue. Yeah.
Now, we mentioned at the top of the show just how important this game is in the context of Pool A. So we've a little bit of a selfish interest here, and I'm going to ask you about that now. How does Joe Schmidt handle that this weekend? Ireland have their own job to do. That'll be out of the way by Saturday. Do the squad watch that game together? Do they go about their training, their recovery as if it's not happening? How would you handle that?
Look, I think in the past, when I've been in that situation as a player, the focus has just been on what you can do, because you can't affect anything in the other games. So Joe will just be getting the players to be 100% focused, and there'll be enough players there who'll be playing, who'll be thinking, I want to put my hand up and I want to make sure that I'm playing in the quarter final, whether it's New Zealand or whether it's South Africa. So they'll be looking to deliver, and Joe tends to has everyone kind of, pretty much like they're on a bit of a knife edge. But they know that if they don't perform, someone else is going to step in. So I think that the players will be very much as focused on the Samoan game, and then look, if they get together and watch. If the Scotland game happens, Scotland-Japan happens, they might get together to watch it as a group, but I don't think it will be formally organised.
Yeah. The permutations are not straightforward, but we know that if the game is abandoned, Japan will top the group. If the game goes ahead, any Scottish win, barring the Japanese getting 2 bonus points, will see Ireland top the group, as long as they pick up their losing bonus point against Samoa. Any Japan win then, or draw, will see them top the group ahead of us. How do you see it panning out?
At the moment, I was just looking, like, because there's a lot of people who are kind of outraged now and saying, I can't believe that, we're going to not let this game go ahead. It's a typhoon. And then the question comes up, who organised the World Cup in Japan during typhoon season? Yeah. And that's a fair enough point. But when you actually see, when people have been posting images of the last typhoon that they had there, and how this one is similar, if not worse, people could lose their lives in it. So I think that I can understand that games being called off during the pool stages when the turnarounds are so tight that they couldn't be rescheduled. There is enough of a break now that this game can be moved a day or 2 days, which I think would. And the only one that's really in doubt is the Scotland game. like Scotland will go out if this game is not played. So I don't know. It's a good question. Does it call into it? You know, are you changing the rules after the fact to try and accommodate Scotland?
Yeah.
You know?
Let's assume that the heavens clear, that the game goes ahead on Sunday. How do you see it happening?
Okay. Well, ideally, I think Japan have too much momentum at the moment. I think it's going to be a really good game because Scotland are going to be desperate and they're going to be playing. You know, they're not going to play within themselves. They're like, that's why I'm so keen to see George Horan start for them. But I think Japan, like I said, it's like they're writing the script. They have too much momentum now going into this game, and I think that their players are growing in confidence all the time. You know, like they started slowly against Russia. You know, there was times when it was really sticky for them against Ireland, but they hung in there and they came out and they deservedly won. And then, you know, I think Samoa was probably I thought was their best game. Granted, people are saying, oh, it's Samoa, you know, but I thought Samoa played better. So now this teased them up for a big performance to hopefully go on top the pool.
Jerry, the final game in Pool D takes place on Sunday as Wales take on minnows Uruguay. Uruguay have kind of already had their World Cup in a lot of ways by beating Fiji, and Wales did exactly the same thing, 29-17, in a tight enough game on Wednesday to all but secure top spot in Group D. How does Warren Gatland manage this? It's a tight turnaround. He pretty much played a starting or full strength 15 against Fiji, and they have a quarter-final to prepare for in 7 days' time. How does he manage that?
I think it's straightforward enough. I think it's going to be wholesale changes and get as much game time into the lads who haven't been playing as regularly. I think the Patchell and Bigger thing is important. They've losing Anscombe, and now Bigger has stepped up and has been phenomenal for them. I think they need to mind him now and get some game time. Patchell has been impressive when he's come on. So get some game time into Patchell and just try and mix it up a little bit, you know. But I think the thing that stood out for me about Wales through this World Cup is the confidence that they've shown all the way through. If you compare Ireland's lead into the World Cup versus Welsh, Wales lost 3 of their 4 warm-up games. Yet they were still talking about going out winning the World Cup. There was no talk of crisis. They used the warm-up games almost as an experimenting, seeing different combinations, and then losing Gareth Anscombe going out to the World Cup, who's arguably their first choice 10, and yet they've just built their way through the tournament and really confident. Whereas Ireland were, and granted we incurred a really heavy loss against England, but you know we were kind of rattled going out there a little bit, and then thought the Scottish game put it to bed, but obviously not. But the Welsh, how the Welsh are backing themselves has been really impressive.
The Patchell Bigger dynamic is actually made even more complicated by the fact that Gatland didn't bring another fly half, so he only has 2 in his squad. And he'll have a decision to make. Like we said, we know Wales have at least another week left in this tournament, but there's a possibility that Dan Bigger won't be available for that game, which leaves you without a replacement fly half, and then you have to make a decision: do we take the risk and hope that we get past with just Rhys Patchell, or do we send Dan Bigger home and take someone out in his place?
I think they're gonna. I think a lot of it comes down to what your other options are. And just off the top of my head now, I think once they've lost Anscombe, Hadley Parks could step in and play 10 for them, but it's Patchell, and then probably who are they looking at then after that? Like they've got Sam Davies at home with the Dragons. I think they just gotta get Patchell through and just hopefully get Bigger fit for the quarters.
Yeah, and like you said, just hope nothing happens to Patchell, because he will probably have to play at least 60-70 minutes against Uruguay this Sunday. Yeah,
and look, if someone said to Warren Gatland at the start of the tournament that you'd be in this position and this is where you'd be going into your final pool game where Dan Biggers is, he's taking a bit of a beating, we're going to wrap him in cotton wool, you take it all day against Uruguay. They're in a really good place.
Yeah, I suppose a couple of things to say on Uruguay. Like we said, they kind of had their moment of the tournament in defeating Fiji. That does give them a very, very outside chance of securing automatic qualification for 2023 if they beat Wales this weekend. They've had a week to gear up to this. They don't have a quarter-final to look forward to. If they throw the kitchen sink at Wales, they have any chance of beating them?
No, it's not going to happen. No, I think, like I said, because Wales are gaining momentum through the tournament now, the guys who are going to get game time, who are going to get significant game time against Uruguay, they're going to say, well, I actually want to force my way into the team. So like, you look at the Navidi, Moriarty, that dynamic, like who's going to be the starting 8 for them. When they lost Faletau, someone else has got to step up there. They don't have a natural momentum bringing ball carrier there. I think Navidi's got a massive work rate. He's a good footballer. He's a good poach. Moriarty's a little bit more of a dynamic ball carrier. But I think they're shading themselves at the moment. They're shading on the side of going with Navidi. Yeah. But I think there's a couple of other dynamics there going on. Like, you know, like even looking through the front row, Thomas Francis, Dylan Lewis, Ken Owens is nailed on as the first choice. But Elliot D has a lot to show as well as a hooker. So there's some questions there, you know, and I think that there'll be lads who'll be really, really keen to stake a claim for the quarterfinal, or at least to try and push themselves further up the pecking order. In terms of they may not be the automatic guy, but they want to get on the field a little bit earlier and improve Gatlin's faith in them. So I think that, you know, it's not like they're just going to show up and say, oh, well, we were in the quarters anyway. So
nothing other than the Welsh win in that one.
No, I can't see it.
Jerry, the USA take on Tonga in what is unfortunately for both of those sides the definition of a dead rubber this weekend. There's nothing to play for. It's kind of a battle for the wooden spoon. Tonga really gave France a bit of a fright last weekend. Can you see them kind of continuing with that momentum going into the United States game?
It's a hard one to call. I think Tonga have definitely looked to threaten more of the tier 1 sides. Just looking through the pool, I would say Tonga probably have been better than the USA. Yeah. It's interesting because there's quite a few players there with, you know, there's a bit of an Irish interest in the USA side. But I think I was trying to when I watched France and Tonga, I was trying to work out whether it was French ineptitude or what was it. And look, the French set piece didn't work very well in the game, and Tonga definitely brought it physically. But you know, I think that Tonga have looked the strongest of. Between themselves and USA, I would say Tonga have looked the strongest through the pool.
The Irish interest you mentioned, there's a huge Irish representation there. We've kind of 4 players in that squad who kind of stand out as Irish representatives. But the question I'd ask, I know we have the development of the Major League Rugby, but is there more that needs to be done for the United States to create Indigenous players and create that kind of tradition and culture that comes with it in order for them to really become a major player on the world stage?
Long term, that's the way they need to go. They need to start developing players within the USA. A step on the way towards doing that is strengthening the league, is bringing in more quality into the league, and if it has to be that a lot of younger Irish lads are coming across, plying their trade in the domestic league over in the States, then younger players will get better as a result of seeing the quality improve there and learning off them. But it's the exact same as you go down to New Zealand and they're going to have Fijians, they're going to have Samoans, they're going to have Tongans, and those guys will come through and they'll play for New Zealand. So at the moment it's a stepping stone where a lot of players who probably aren't making it in Ireland, John Quill, AJ McGinty, they say, well, I can play international test rugby here. Yeah. And down the line then you just want to see that those lads actually, that you know, that the coaching improves and the pathway improves towards the senior team.
Yeah. We're at the end of the pool stages. You know, we're sending home 12 teams. This is a battle for 4th and 5th place. Scotland kept Russia to 0 on Wednesday. It's the 4th time it's happened this tournament. Between 2011 and 2015, it only happened 3 times. There's been 32 pool games so far, and the average winning margin is 29 points. Is the gap between Tier 1 and Tier 2, or the stronger and the weaker nations, getting larger? Do World Rugby need to look at reducing the number of teams in a tournament? Is anyone gaining anything from those kind of blowouts?
I think I think the World Cup is an advert for the sport globally, and you're trying to grow the game globally as well. I think that having the tier two nations in there and seeing how they perform, like, look there, we've had a couple of upsets, Uruguay notably, but we've had some really good performances as well from the Tier 2 nations. And I think that World Rugby are doing their best to assist them. And I take your point around the 29 points, but there's not been 100-point drubbings. You know, like when I saw in the World Cup warm-ups, when I saw how Tonga fared against the All Blacks, I was really worried coming into the tournament. But Tonga have grown into the tournament and have improved. I think Tier 2 nations have been pretty competitive. If you look at how most teams structure their, I suppose, the evolution of their game plan, they'll focus on set pieces, because set piece is set piece. It's black and white. Then they'll look at their defence. Again, that's systems based. It doesn't require huge talent. Then they'll look at their kicking game, and then attack is the last layer. And if you look at, that's how most teams will layer in. So that's where those teams are falling down, is on the attack side, which is generally going to require the highest skill set for players to be able to play heads up rugby and see things and react on the field. So, but I think that by and large the Tier 2 nations have been competitive up to the point of just that last layer on the attack. So they haven't found it as easy to break teams down. But I think I've enjoyed the Tier 2 nations. I think they've been really good, and they've made the World Cup a far better tournament.
One word prediction: USA or Tonga?
Tonga.
Thanks, Jerry. That's all we have time for in this episode of the JOEpan Rugby Show, brought to you by Sports Show in association with Air Sport. A reminder that all 3 games previewed in today's episode are available exclusively live on the Air Sport package this Sunday. We'll be back on Thursday next week, looking ahead to all 4 quarter-finals as the business end of the Rugby World Cup gets underway. We'll see you then.